Chapter 1. The extent of scarcity of food and drink. The northwest border of Daku, the sky is high and the land is broad, vast, and barren. At the westernmost end of this remote and desolate Gobi Desert is Daku's first pass, the Diling Pass. Diling Pass is surrounded by dozens of military settlements, large and small. On the banks of the Gobi, 30 miles southeast of that, the imperial court established a special post station to facilitate the exchange of official documents. Since this military station is close to Tianlingtun, it is called Tianlingtun Post Station. The month of June in the frontier fort is sweltering, and the scorching heat waves in the air leave people parched and thirsty. A gust of wind came and instead of taking away the heat, it started blowing dust. In the firewood room in the backyard of the post station, 5-year-old Li Wuya sat on the edge of a makeshift wooden bed, drenched in sweat, holding a broken porcelain bowl and drinking water. Very hot. Very thirsty. The conditions here are not ordinary difficulties. Lack of water and food, climate is not good, summers are very hot and winters are very cold. When she thinks she can stay here for the rest of her life, Li Wuya suddenly feels that life is full of hatred towards her. In this life, he was reborn in a military family, serving in the army during the war and farming in his spare time. Unless there is a royal license, generations and ancestors will be nailed here. I thought she'd have a better day when she traveled through the end of the world, but who knows, the gods actually dumped her in the Gobi Desert, which is no nonsense. The Gobi Desert is synonymous with desolation and barrenness. She's been complaining about it for 5 years since the tire went through. Looking at the current development trend, she may continue to complain. Fifth sister. A 5-year-old boy who looked very similar to Li Wuya walked in, took out a tattered cattail fan from behind like a treasure and proudly raised his chin. "Auntie Fang gave me this. Here, take it and fan it." Li Wuya looked at Xiao doubting in front of him, took the kettle fan, and handed him the bowl. "Drink some water, my mouth is dry." Li Kelang took the bowl as carefully as Li Wuya, sipping the water in small sips and drinking it carefully. They have very little water, so there are 2 wells in the military village in the station. The wells in the military village were to supply the men in the military village, and the post stations were to supply the troops and horses going to and from. No one could get water according to their wish. Li Wuya saw that Li Kelang stopped drinking after taking a few sips, and said, "You drink all the water in the bowl. After you drink, I will ask for it." He and Li Qianlong are twins. Although under the fury of wind, sand, frost and snow, they are not rosy and Z-cut, and are also a bit rough and dark, but their faces are blessed and soothing. Then, unlike other kids who are messy all day long, Li Wuya and Li Kelang clean up every day. When adults see them, they will naturally like some of them. As long as the request is not excessive, the station people will usually satisfy them, such as giving them a few more bowls of water to drink. Ah! Li Kelang has always listened to Li Wuya's words, and when she asked him to drink the water in the bowl, he immediately squealed with joy and quickly drank all the water. Li Wuya waved the bamboo fan, waved the fan a few times for himself, and then waved the fan a few times for Li Kelang. Gulu gulu tilde. Li Wuya's stomach suddenly rumbled. Hungry. Touching her shrunken stomach, Li Wuya couldn't help but look up at the sky and sigh, "When will this day of food and drink end?" The Li family eats only twice a day, with one meal consisting only of a palm-sized dry mask, as well as a bowl of bitter unknown wild vegetable soup. This way, the Li family's food is better than 90% of the families in the military village. The range is barren and cold, and grain production is pitifully low. Many families are able to eat only once a day. The Li family can eat twice a day because of Li Changsun, who is a small banner in the guard. Li Wuya's father in this life, Li Changshan, went into the guard as a soldier at the age of 13. In recent years, there have been wars along the border for years. When Li Wuya and Li Kelang were 1 year old, they relied on bravely fighting the enemy to raise a small flag. Although Xiaoqi is only an official of the 7th rank, he can also receive a salary of 7 shi grains every month. With this salary, the life of the Li family has become better, of course, only slightly better. Not at all, there are many members of the Li family. The Li family is a military family inherited from generation to generation in Tianlingtan. Mr. Li and Mrs. Li have 3 sons and 1 daughter. Li Changsun was the eldest in the family, but he was the last one to marry. Most of the border gate people were married at the age of 16 or 17. He did not marry Jin Yui, the daughter of a hunter in the mountains, until he was 22 years old.